member of her community and church, and has always served others to the best of her ability and has passed that spirit on to everyone she meets. I personally am a better person for knowing her. She has shown me that people from all beliefs can work together to make a strong community and live a fuller life. The fact that we are here today gives me pause, and I am concerned with the leadership of our city, and the differences of opinion should all be respected, and everything needs to be discussed and utilized to make our city better. Thank you for your time.
Next person in the queue is Jeff Wald.
Hi, my name is Jeff Wald, 89074. I live in Ward 4. I have known Carrie Cox since right before she ran for City Council. I have lived here in the city of Henderson for just a little bit over 8 years. And my message today is fairly simple and very short. I am familiar with and I'm aware of the charges against Councilwoman Cox. And my message is this, just very simple. Let the legal process play out and ultimately let the voters of the city of Henderson decide what Councilwoman Cox's fate should be, whether she remains on city council or not. With that, thank you very much for your time.
Next person is Heather Stammer.
Good afternoon, Mayor Romero and City Council members. I know all of you well, and it's good to see you. For those who don't know me, for the record, my name is Heather Stammer, and I am currently the outgoing president of Southern Hills Republican Women, also known as SHREW, who spent the last 4 years in this position, and we are the largest women's federated club in the entire state of Nevada, holding over 200 members. Currently, there are 17 women's federated clubs, and we are the grassroots of many of your campaigns. I'm here to discuss the disregard of one of your city council members, Carrie Cox, who I once considered a friend. I walked neighborhoods with her when she was running in 2021, held a meet and greet at my house for candidates, which she was invited to, hung and handed out campaign signs for her, allowed her to speak quite a few times at the club, and I was here for her swearing in. When she was elected, I was asked by her to sit on your charter committee, which I obliged proudly. You see, I've lived in Henderson 18 years, and Nevada has been good to me since moving here. I only want to give back to a city that has been great to me. I've lived in Councilman Jim Seebach's district for the entire 18 years, attend the same church as Jim, and have lived next door to Mayor Romero's aunt and uncle. I've met the mayor's cousins, her mother, and have been to dinner at her Aunt Dorothy and now deceased Uncle Shep's house many times. And although I have known the mayor for 18 years, I've only heard positive things about her and her family. But back in February of 2024, at one of the SHREW luncheons, Carrie Cox approached me and told me about an affair that Michelle Romero and Jim Seebach were having. I informed her that gossip is dangerous and to be careful about spreading high school filth. She tried to make me believe that rumor was true, but I shut her down and walked away, and I never mentioned it to anyone and let it go. 2 months after my encounter with Carrie, one of my neighbors approached me and asked why Carrie Cox would call her on the phone and start telling her about an affair the mayor was allegedly having with Jim Seebach. I told her that it was gossip and ignore it. Now the rumor has seeped not only into my neighborhood, but into my club, because you see, my neighbor is also a member of SHREW. In October of 2024, I had a phone call from 2 of my members. Both had gone to dinner with Carrie and talked profusely about the mayor and the alleged affair. Both were pretty upset and angry since the mayor, sorry, should I go?
You can
I'm sorry?
submit the rest of it for.
Submit the rest? Okay.
The next person in the queue is Mary Rooney.
Mary Rooney, zip code 89052. In addition to myself, I am speaking on behalf of Nevadans Can Citizen Action Network. Both Julie Herford and I are co-founders of this not-for-profit grassroots organization. We have known Carrie Cox for close to a decade. In all of our dealings with her, we have found her to be an individual of sterling character and integrity. She listens to her constituents and resolves problems and issues in ways that benefit the public as opposed to her own personal gain. She is honest, transparent, and accountable. Through the years, both Julie and I have supported various candidates for public offices. Carrie is one of the very few who did not and does not let her elected position cloud her responsibilities and judgment. She told us what she would stand for if elected, and once that happened, she did not alter her priorities, unlike so many other politicians who forget who they are supposed to work for once they are in office. Censuring her is a travesty of justice. She should be praised for her vigilance and perseverance in working for the citizens of Henderson, not belittled and ostracized for her endeavors. This hearing is political theater at its worst, at a time when our public officials should be working to gain our respect and trust, not further erode it with petty infighting, and once again, wasting our taxpayer dollars. My fervent prayer is that you do not succeed in this folly.
Eddie Hamilton.
Good evening. Identify myself. I live on Carver Street in Henderson, Ward number 1. I've run against Mr. Seebeck in the past as well as Mayor Romero. So I'm here to talk about due process. The critical thing is that there is a trial coming up, a felony trial. A trial is where you find facts and then they apply the law. And this meeting tonight, in my opinion, is illegal because it will influence the jury. It is not your job to censure your fellow council. It is our job as voters to do that. And also the fact that I'm not here to support Carrie Cox, or I'm not here against her. I know all of you from the Clark County Republican Party. Ms. Larson, I've met you there. This is not right to do this. Postpone it until we know if she's guilty or not. Don't jump the gun. The only impression people think is this is like the old Henderson, when we call it Hendertucky, the old Henderson many decades ago. You're doing this, perhaps, or whoever is pressuring you, to appeal to special interests, to satisfy special interests that are embarrassed, maybe, by this accusation. But you should stand up to that. Stand up for the due process of law. That is your job. There's no need to censure. Don't waste your time on it. And let the court proceeding, and then you can take the action from there. So once again, I'm not here for Carrie Cox. I know her pretty well, and I'm not here against her. I just want to see that this is like a kangaroo court. We don't need to do this. You're better than that. And, you know, we got enough problems. We got affordability problem, we got housing problem, but, you know, getting down on one of your fellow members, that's not it. I'm ashamed of all this procedure. Don't do it. Don't prejudice the case. You're going to prejudice the jury. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Jacob Kelly.
Hi, my name is Jacob Kelly, and 89014. Good afternoon, and thank you to the City of Henderson for giving me and my wife the opportunity to speak today. We truly are grateful to stand here together. I recently celebrated 4 years clean on October 29th, and tomorrow marks my wife's 4-year sobriety anniversary, and this time of year is also our wedding anniversary. These milestones mean everything to us because there was a time when we weren't so sure we'd ever reach this point. The truth is, without the opportunity that the ABC Core program gave my wife and I, and in many ways, both of us, we wouldn't have the strength, stability, and or unity we have today. ABC Core gave us structure and hope, and walking through the journey with her strengthened my own recovery as well. We are standing here because the city offered us a second chance. The experience showed me how much families depend on strong, united leadership. And right now, Henderson is growing and changing in ways we haven't seen in decades. This is a crucial moment for our city. Having steady, compassionate leaders like Carrie Cox, people who step in support of residents and help shape our community, has benefited Henderson more than anything else, and we need that moving forward. We need, when leadership is divided, the whole community feels it. We've seen projects stall, safety improvements slow down, and programs lose momentum because decisions weren't made with unity or confidence. Even recent tragedy reminded us how important clear, decisive leadership truly is. This is why I'm speaking today. I want to express my support for Councilwoman Carrie Cox. Based on what I've personally seen, I watched her support other people by simply vouching for their character and when they've earned that trust. She's never pushed outcomes. She's just offered names as a dependable reference, giving people a chance to be evaluated on who they are today. That kind of support can change a life. She's also been a steady encouragement for individuals who felt lost, including my wife during difficult moments of her path of recovery. As I close, I want to speak from the heart. Dr. Martin Luther King taught us to judge a person based on their content of character, not their past. This principle shaped my life and influenced many voices of our generation, like Charles James Kirk, who inspires many to pursue truth, integrity, and a life modeled after Christ. At the end of the day, we are all trying, and thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Candace Kelly.
Good afternoon. My name is Candace Kelly, zip code 89014. I first want to start off with good afternoon, and thank you so much, City of Henderson, for allowing me to be a member of our community to speak. As an alumni graduate of the ABC Courts program, I'm someone who has personally experienced the power of support and compassion and a second chance myself. I come from a very chaotic and criminal background, and this city helped me to rebuild my life, and I will always be grateful for that. I often talk and think about wanting a strong and safe community, and that can only happen when leadership is united. A healthy community needs leaders who listen, collaborate, and focus on solutions rather than the conflicts within it. Unity creates stability, and stability will create safety. And as recent tragedies happen near our homes, the environments that we are creating, the resources that people need, and the cycles that continue when the support is missing is what happens. These are challenges that should be coming together to address. This is what changes lives. This is what prevents the harm. And this is what will build a stronger Henderson. As I stand here as someone who knows firsthand what it feels like to start from nothing, to need transportation, food, work, guidance, hope. I stand here as someone who has overcome because of certain people in this city, such as Carrie Cox, who had believed in redemption and helped me to be here to stand where I am today. So let me end with where I'm here tonight. I'm speaking on behalf of Councilwoman Carrie Cox, not because of anything I've read or anything I've heard, but personally what I have witnessed myself. She has helped me when I have had no rides, no meals, no jobs, and had no direction. She has given her own time to me, myself, and my family. She stood at nearly every ABC court graduation, reminding us that we are not alone, that when someone believes in us, and that we should be proud of ourselves for trying. The Carrie Cox I know is very supportive, compassionate, and committed to this community, and that's why I chose to speak here today. Thank you so much again for all of your time.
Jane Pellin.
Hello, my name is Jane Pallin, 89011. I'm a resident of Ward 3, represented by Councilwoman Carrie Cox. I live in a 55-plus retirement community. As the 2022 election was approaching, our community hosted a meet and greet featuring all the candidates running for City Council. In the time leading up to that forum, I read and watched various local media sources and learned what I could about the candidates. I was leaning toward voting for candidate Trish Nash prior to the meet and greet. However, at the event, I witnessed Carrie outperform all of the other candidates by providing thoughtful and concise responses to some very tough questions. Nash failed miserably, and the other candidates simply didn't come close to exhibiting the well-thought-out plans, ideas, and solutions that Carrie presented. Carrie is the most approachable, relatable, and genuine local representative I've ever encountered. She returns phone calls promptly, ensures she understands the issues, and follows up as promised. Her work to improve conditions at the Henderson Animal Shelter has been outstanding. Decades of neglect to that facility left it a challenging place to care for animals safely. The improvements Carrie spearheaded have made it much more safe, comfortable, and functional. I know more improvements are planned and budgeted for, and for that I sincerely thank Carrie. Carrie is remarkably engaged in her ward. Her passion for small businesses, responsible growth, and maintaining a high quality of life is admirable. Censuring Councilwoman Cox would be a disservice to Henderson. Removing her from regional boards and commissions is a step too far. None of these options should be considered until Carrie Cox is given her day in court. As for any discrepancy, you need to consider the source or sources. Councilwoman Monica Larson, while you're leading Ward 2, I obviously couldn't vote for you. But I do find myself with many questions about your ability to serve. Why are there inconsistencies about your professional pedigree? Why were you a clinical forensic psychologist by trade or not? Why do you travel with a bodyguard? You're a city council member. Mayor Romero, I voted for you. I'm extremely disappointed in your service thus far. You're not a good leader. You're incapable of bringing your team together to work in a productive manner. You have failed. In 2026, vote Holly Chadwick.
Eleanor Palmer.
Hello, my name is Eleanor Palmer, 89002. I also am a local Henderson business owner, so 89015. I'm in Seabox Ward. So I'm here on behalf of just speaking on what I feel as not only a resident, but a business owner. I have gotten a chance to know Carrie over the years, about right before the time that she was running. She's always supported me, and she's come to things of my aid, such as we ran to fight the SB 291 bill, which she was very supportive, showed up for my team, helped us get through that, and kind of pointed us in the right direction. We were fighting a bill for cosmetology board. I don't know if anybody's aware of that, but we did fight that for the estheticians. So she was very supportive in that. Even in not in my being my ward, you know, I wasn't in her ward. She showed up for every event I had, every grand opening I had. Very supportive of small business. As a small business owner, I'm very happy to see that Henderson is growing and moving in the right direction. But there are things that need to follow suit, such as we should always do things in order as far as what's happening. Due processes needs to be done first before we jump the gun. I feel like this is unnecessary right now and a little bit premature. And we need to really give a chance for somebody to prove their innocence or not innocent. Either way, you need to give that due process before this council decides to get rid of somebody before they even get the chance to say anything at this point. So it's very disappointing as somebody that lives and works and runs a business in this area. I do know I go through a lot of events. I see a lot of people But I do give props to people that show up for us. And as a small business owner, that's important. It is a hard time right now in this day and age to run a successful business, and to have people, show for your company and your business is amazing. So I would hope that you would take that into consideration and give people their due process to see what is happening before we jump the gun, because I feel like this is unnecessary right now and a little just premature for this time right now. Let it go, let things go and see where it lands, and then go from there. As a business owner and a homeowner in Henderson, I do want to see the future go, obviously prosper and get better, and I see we're on that track, but I do see things that need to change and need to be fixed, and to see this happen in the future for all of us. Thank you.
Danelle Hahn.
Mayor Romero, council members. My name is Danelle Hahn. I live 89015. I came here with my family 80 years ago. We're a big city now. We were thousands then, we're 300,000 now. I'm asking you today sincerely not to do this censorship. I think it's the wrong thing to do. I think that we need to figure out a way to get behind, most of these are petty grievances, and they've been very embarrassing for those of us who live here. I don't want to recount all the allegations you make against one another, but it's really foolish when you pick up the paper and instead of talking about the good things we do in Henderson, we're reading about a spat that somebody's having with someone else. I read through the censure information. Carrie Cox has not been adjudicated. I think it's premature to determine that you're going to make that decision for her. A lot of the other things were allegations, and I think that at this point, I think we're not looking at those things. There are all those things that you could work through. If I were you, I would hire a mediator, figure out a way to get someone who's skilled in team building, conflict resolution, and start to try to work as a team. We don't care if you like each other. We do not care that. We don't want to hear about your personal business or your personal animosity toward one another. I think if we look at a lot of the things that are, by the way, I didn't vote for Carrie Cox, so you need to know that about it too. I just want good government. We want good leaders in our community. We want to be proud of you. We don't want to look like we're fools, and we do right now. Everything we've been reading about Henderson has been very unfortunate. It looks like this thing kind of looks petty. It kind of looks like a political undermining of someone's candidacy. It looks like it isn't something that we should be doing here. The ultimate decision about whether you're doing a good job is the voters. If she's not doing a good job, if you're not doing a good job, the voters are going to tell you that. So I just want to make a recommendation that you figure out a way to work together and get past this political and personal stuff. Thank you.
Angelo Carvalho.
I just wanted to put that photo up there for everybody to see. My name is Angelo Carvalho, 89011. I rarely get up here and talk. I rarely get involved unless it's something that is important. What I am is all about facts. I don't believe in drama. I don't believe in gossip. I could care less. Facts are facts. So here's the facts. Last year, the Henderson Police Department was having a turkey drive for over 200 families that needed assistance with this Thanksgiving turkey meal for November 2024. A friend of mine asked me if I could help with some fundraising as they were $2,000 short, which they weren't able to buy sides. So basically, you're just going to get a turkey. Well, it kind of sucks without the mashed potatoes and gravy. So I said, yeah, I would love to help you raise money. So I went to my boss and I asked him, hey, check this out. I have the police department of Henderson. We work in Henderson. This is our home. They're $2,000 short. He says, Angelo, just take your company credit card and go pay for those sides. If we could help feed 200 families, we're more than obligated to do so. So then my friend reached out to me and said, hey, can you meet us November 24th, 2024 at the Sam's Club on Spencer and Serene at 11 p.m. I went there, shopped with everybody, paid with my company credit card, and then I had asked prior to this if Councilwoman Carrie Cox could please write an email to my boss to let him know that this is for the police department fundraising. This was not going to Carrie Cox. So the story in the news is false. Somebody lied. It's disgusting, okay? There's a photo of me right there. It's time stated and it was stamped on my phone when it happened. So somebody lied. So it's all about the facts here. I have appreciated what the city of Henderson has done. I used to be that hellion that used to roll up on Water Street back in the day when it was in Kentucky or whatever we used to call it. Okay, I was part of that group. I love Henderson, and I love to see where Henderson has come. And everybody that knows me, I'm all about charity. I have been involved in more charitable contributions in this community than I have ever been recognized for. And I don't care about being recognized. I served 26 years in the Army because I believe in God and country, period. And what is going on right now is not what I served for. This is an epitome of what I stand for. Guilty before being charged. That is unheard of. And I tell you, I have helped many elected officials with fundraising, and I don't get a penny for it because I believe in the system. So do the right things. Thank you.
Amanda Swartz.
Amanda Swartz, 89044. I've stood in front of you guys several times to discuss previous concerns about our law enforcement family. I stand here tonight, and I have every right to, as a voter, to speak in support of Carrie Cox. Carrie has served her community selflessly, above reproach, and remains fully committed to all the people of Henderson. And while I don't live in her ward, Carrie has been the only approachable and trustworthy council member. I know that I can contact her anytime, and she will always take the time to listen to me, my thoughts and concerns. She addresses them as she does all residents. I have attempted in good faith to reach out to my own Ward 2 councilwoman, but have only been met by silence. Carrie is the only accessible and caring council member and truly remembers that she serves all residents. She loves the people of Henderson and supports all of us. She's genuine, caring, and what you see is what you get. Carrie keeps her word. She is the epitome of what a leader is and should be. And I encourage you all to take some ideas from her. Since I'm a voter, myself and all the voters in the city deserve the same accessibility and care that Carrie provides us. I encourage you to remember that you first serve the people of Henderson and not your own interests. And again, as a voter, I have every right to speak tonight in support of Carrie Cox. Don't forget that those who vote you in can vote each of you out. And that's not a problem for any voter to do so if you don't do the right thing.
Doug Parker.
Mayor, council members, and support staff, thank you. Doug Parker, 89014. I'm a resident of Henderson. What if it's not about being pro Carrie Cox or anti Carrie Cox, and it's instead about having a healthy city council? The way to address differences is not by trying to shut them down and instead to embrace the difference that happens when you have tension among the council. That's the sign of a healthy council. If you end up shutting down the opposition by censure, you shut down the opposing voice, and the opposing voices all need to be there. We need all of you present. Additionally, as far as the due process goes, which I just found out about here from listening to 2 or 3 other speakers, I am also for suggesting tabling of the censure vote. There's no harm or no foul in being able to table a vote that you're considering taking. Nobody will look worse on you because you decided to postpone something that needs to be postponed. Lastly, it's interesting to note, we all learned this as children, that when we point at one person, there's 3 fingers pointing back to us. Thank you.
Cindy Kermsey.
Hello, Cindy Kermsey, 89011. I am reading this on behalf of Attorney Josh Tomczyk, representing Carrie Cox. Dear council members, this letter is in regard to the above referenced resolution, the censure resolution involving council member Carrie Cox. As you are likely aware, I have the privilege of representing Mrs. Cox in the pending criminal indictment referred to in your resolution. This correspondence comes after my conversations with Mr. Vaskov, City Attorney for Henderson, and review of the agenda for a special meeting concerning this resolution. Upon the invitation of Mr. Vaskov, who has dealt with me in this matter in both an open and professional manner, I am submitting this letter to be included in the backup materials to this resolution and made part of the record. To be clear at the outset, I am not a politician. I have no political affiliation related to this incident, nor do I desire to. I am not a resident of Henderson. I have no personal affiliation or relationship to any of the city council members and have no axe to grind concerning any of the ongoing issues related to the city, its city council members, or its political agendas. What I do have is a life and career-long interest in protecting the rights of our citizens. This letter is simply to address some of the manifestly apparent violations of the rights of Mrs. Cox, and to make it equally as apparent that Mrs. Cox will address those violations in the proper format at the appropriate time, neither of which are at this meeting or through this resolution. This action, or to put it more accurately, series of actions against Mrs. Cox, is unprecedented. A censure resolution like the one here is not something that has ever occurred in the context of a city council meeting in the city of Henderson or virtually anywhere else in the state of Nevada that I can identify. The main reason this is such an anomaly is that the city council has no authority to do what it is doing here. To be clear, the very rule cited by this body allowing for this special meeting to proceed with discipline and provide for the punishment of its members against one of its sitting elected officials, namely Section 2.030 of the City of Henderson Charter, neither authorizes nor grants any authority for the city.
Thank you.
Steve Watkins.
My name's Steve Watkins, 89015, Part 2 of that letter by Attorney Josh Tomczyk. Charter neither authorizes nor grants any authority for the City Council to do what it's doing at present. So it is clear within the record of the resolution section 2.030 states, City Council discipline of members and other persons subpoena power. The City Council may provide for the punishment of any member or for disorderly conduct committed in its presence. This section of the city charter provides for punishment for a member whose specific statutory defined behavior which occurs in the presence of the other members. In other words, it allows the council to address disruptive behavior which occurs at a city council meeting. It further provides for instruction on the issuance of subpoenas to compel attendance and produce documents for testimony evidence in a meeting of city council. It does not grant this body the power or ability to enact punishment or unproven allegations of hearsay nature compiled in the report from the different jurisdiction. To assert that does stretches the bounds of logic and patiently violates the rights of due process afforded Mrs. Cox. While the resolution clearly articulates that council member Cox is entitled to due process and is innocent until proven guilty of the allegations set forth set forth in the police report and the charge asserted in the indictment. This measure affords her due process and does not provide her with any recourse of the actions of the city council in taking the unprecedented action without lawful authority to do so. To be clear, Mrs. Cox is not only innocent until proven guilty of the allegations set forth in the police report, she is not charged with the majority of the allegations in the police report. There is but single allegation within the police report. She faces any criminal civil accusation at present. With the exception of the incident alleged, the indictment for Ms. Cox cannot comment at the part of ongoing criminal case, which she maintains her innocence and will plead not guilty, and for which she will address the court as she is constitutionally presumed innocent. The allegations in the police report referenced in the resolutions are, in large part, a collection of complaints about a council member Cox by individual of a decidedly different political stance than Mrs. Cox. They do not allege crimes. They do not put forth actionable actions. They simply recite opinion, information from political opponents.
Christine Burnett.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Christine Burnett, 89011. This is a continuation of the letter from Attorney Josh Tomchek, representing Carrie Cox, regarding resolution number 4666. They simply recite opinion information from political opponents and individuals with patently obvious bias against Mrs. Cox. For this body to take action against Mrs. Cox for a mere allegation without the authority to do so, and for which she cannot respond because of the ongoing nature of that allegation, violates the most sacrosanct pillar of our criminal justice system and seeks to do nothing more than further the agenda of those that disagree with her. The idea that the city council should issue a censure for, in part, the fact that the mayor chose to hire outside counsel to send Mrs. Cox a cease and desist letter to address rumors is, for lack of a better term, silly. Certainly, the mayor is entitled to retain counsel, and certainly that counsel is within their rights to draft and send such a letter. But for that letter to be the subject of a public meeting agenda item related to a censure clearly illustrates the point of what this resolution is. It is nothing more than typical playground bullying enacted in a public forum by elected officials against one of their own. While Mrs. Cox could address each of these sensational, scurrilous, one-sided accusations in this document, she will not. As this body has no authority to do what it is doing and is choosing to do it anyway, Mrs. Cox will not further waste voter time and taxpayer resources by elongating the process, especially in one where there is no decision to be made and no executive or judicial decision maker to impose any discipline. Mrs. Cox will address the singular item contained in the criminal indictment in court, which is the proper venue and where she is presumed innocent. She will not attempt to curry favor or push an agenda through allegation or innuendo, and she will not attempt to use the news media to further her personal position. Lastly, she will not use her seat in city government as a weapon against those that disagree with her. Instead, Mrs. Cox will do what she has always done, continue to be a law-abiding and contributing member of her city and community as a whole, in service of others above herself. Best regards, Joshua Tomchek, Esquire. Thank you.
Holly Foster.
Holly Foster, 89074. I want to apologize now. I was not prepared for this. I'm a little scattered. Thank the dear Lord. I have friends in low places that still believe in gossip, because I would have never found out about this meeting or about what was going on with Carrie. I'm dying to know what you said. All I can say is my response to them was, Carrie's a passionate individual. Do we agree all the time? Heavens no. I've known the woman for 30 years, almost 30 years, when we moved back to Las Vegas, or back to Henderson. I was actually born here, one of the few born on the casino table, is what they always say. I am so appreciative for your testimony. I want to know what company you work for, because I want to support that company, because that's how we do things, right? This is a witch hunt. I mean, this is hysterical. You found one person who obviously was in the middle of a divorce that has complaints about Carrie. So congratulations, you found one. I was shopping with her. I know that she would, back in the day when we had our young kids, she was preparing curriculum. She was doing the things that she needed to do. She's very passionate about what she believed in. So anyway, I live in a country where, you know, you are innocent until proven guilty, and that's not the case here. This is, again, if somebody was talking about where they hid the bodies, I would record it also. So, I mean, I guess I'm not any better, but I look at all of these items down here, and again, you've even accused okay, you didn't. The media has also accused her of possible tax evasion. I mean, how dare they? You know, I want people that represent these people, not the people that are having dinner together all the time and that, you know, they're always, you know, that a boy and that a boy and that a boy and taking care of each other. I haven't spoken to Carrie. We travel. We blow stuff up for a living. We're pyros. So, I mean, we're not your typical. Again, I love Carrie. I know she's passionate. I don't agree with her on a lot of things, but she's passionate and she's here to serve these people. She's the one that's going to pick up trash in the park. I want to know how many of you would bend over to pick up trash in the park. I mean, you can't even be reached apparently. So, but anyway, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude, but if you're going to be elected by these individuals, these people in this community, then you need to serve these people and not yourselves. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Lawrence Craig Foster.
Good evening, Lawrence Craig Foster, 89074. I'm going to read a statement by Scott K. McIntyre and then follow up with some of my own comments. I, Scott K. McIntyre, declare that to the best of my knowledge, belief, and memory, the information below is correct and represents what occurred with respect to my asking Carrie Cox to copy keys every volunteer or staff member were authorized to have for their shifts. The key's sole function was to open padlocks on animal kennels and were not, as reported by KLAS Nevada, to access restricted areas. I initially met Carrie Cox in her role as a Kent City Council leader during my then quest to get needed funding for our shelter. In early 2023, she showed up to volunteer for a shift while I was working. The bowl of kennel keys, to my recollection, was near empty. As such, when she asked what she could do to help, I asked her to have copies made so volunteers would have access to care for the animals. She left and brought back around 10 keys. Kennel keys were kept in a bowl on lead kennel tech Cindy Carlson's desk, where every volunteer or staff member had access to take for their use. Emails were sent out with varying frequency asking volunteers to return keys. Despite best efforts, the bowl would eventually empty, facilitating a need for the keys to be replaced via copying. I was a volunteer from early 2019 until late 2023 for City of Henderson Animal Shelter. Probably half of the time I served as a volunteer coordinator assistant, a lead volunteer of sorts who handled scheduling, training, and oversight for the needs of our shelter dogs. It was not unusual for me to use personal funds to supply needed items to the shelter, including beds, enrichment items, toys, leashes, air horns, or puncture-resistant gloves for volunteer safety, fly and roach control products, shade covers, etc. Many but not all purchases I would notify Director Danielle Harney and or Cindy Carlson of. If not, they would be tangentially aware. It seems likely I would have mentioned in passing to Cindy Carlson that I sent Carrie Cox to copy keys, but at this late date, I cannot attest to that. End of item. I've known Carrie and Matt Cox for nearly 30 years. We moved here in 1996 from California, and I know some of those people everybody hates, but I know them to be upstanding individuals. To my knowledge, they run a good daycare. They would encourage allowing legal process to run, or I encourage allowing the legal process to run its course. Carrie is a passionate, positive, and dedicated member of our community, and I'm proud to be her friend and have her represent me on City Council. I appreciate the work that you do. I know that it's difficult. I have served on a few different boards, and I know the difficulty of running boards and creating teams from people who have animosity against each other. But like has already been stated, I encourage you to do such.
Lisa Mayo.
Good evening. Excuse me. I want this entered for the record too, please. I'm Lisa Mayo. I'm speaking today on the censure hearing item only. This council is using censure as a campaign weapon. It is a fundamentally unfair because it takes government accountability tool and turns it into a political stunt. Censure is meant to address serious misconduct, not to score points, create headlines, or damage an opponent's reputation during an election. When elected officials misuse censor for political gain, they're abusing the public trust and manipulating the process to influence voters without having to win on ideas or performance. Ward 3 voters are not fooled. They see this for what it is. This council's use of censor to position your recruited and endorsed candidate in an advantageous position, it won't work. Ward 3 voters know and respect Carrie Cox. She answers their phone calls, she meets with small business owners, she votes in the best interest of her constituents, not special interest. She has exposed the lack of transparency and unjust treatment of others by this board. She has stood up to ridicule, abuse, and downright bullying with a strong backbone and a sense of resolve. Using censor as a political tactic is an abuse of power that misleads voters, manipulates the process, and erodes trust in government. Campaigns should be decided by the people, not by staged reprimands and engineered for political advantage. Carrie Cox is running for office. Carrie Cox will be reelected. Your attempt today with this censure will fail to impact the 2026 election. Henderson taxpayers, residents, voters, and even city staff see this for exactly what it is. Thank you.
Steve Sanson.
Good afternoon. Steve Sanson, President of Veterans in Politics International. I'm sure most of you saw my Facebook Live, the cat fight in Henderson, as we did it outside of the Henderson City Council on Saturday. And I think I spoke a great deal about that. Let me be absolutely clear. 3 members of this council is already biased. They made up their minds before the facts, before the hearings, before any form of due process. And the only person on this council that's not biased, that I haven't heard anything dealing with this, is Councilman Dan Stewart. So we have laws in this country. We have laws that say that you're innocent until proven guilty. We have a police officer, a former police officer sitting on the council right now. I'm sure he knows that law. You're innocent until proven guilty. Not guilty because certain council members are eager to remove a colleague they don't like. As of today, Carrie Cox has not been found guilty of anything. Yet, somehow, this has turned into a full-blown political meltdown because she pressed play on her cell phone. Give me a break. We have an LVMPD officer, Bookman, who shot a homeowner in the head, hovered over his lifeless body, shot him 5 more times, no indictment. But Councilwoman Cox records a meeting at a public event, and suddenly members of this council are acting like the sky is fallen. This is hypocrisy. This is selective outrage, and this is exactly why people don't trust their own local government. The people of Henderson put Carrie Cox in office. The people of Henderson is the body that should remove Carrie Cox from office. I was here a few months ago talking about Councilman Shaw, how he doesn't live in the city of Henderson, but yet he sat on the council. And by the way, that's how Councilwoman Monica Larson got there, because of information that we put here in public. But no one said anything about that. He wasn't censored. He wasn't removed. So it's just amazing how we go after one individual. And I'm not saying that. Thank you for your time.
Sherry Peterson.
Hello, Sheree Peterson. So I now live in Boulder City. I've lived 27 years, same house in Henderson, and we have a business on Water Street for 18 years, and I'm moving my nonprofit right back to Henderson this week. So I'm very familiar with everybody here. I also sit on the Veterans Council. I have sat on a lot of boards through the years. And the most important thing about having a board is that everybody's on the same page. You guys don't run as a political anything because you're all nonpartisan. So how this is a political move, I don't understand. But I do understand when you have one person that told me when she ran, she was going to stir things up because they've been there too long. And I have, my own ideas. So to me, that's not a good way to go into a position. And if you have somebody that disrupts a meeting all the time or isn't there in a way that I think is good for anything, nothing's going to get done if it's always going to be disrupted. So that's what the key of this is it's not a whole body of people that are working together. It's not a body of people that are against one person. It's against like the bad apple that comes in and just spoils everything. So, through my interactions with her, when she's taking pictures with people that have any kind of uniform on or a nonprofit, I've told her again and again, you cannot do that. It's not good for them because they could lose their 501c3 being with a candidate that's running for office. And she said, oh, Sheree, I know that, but yet she used all the pictures. So, I think that she jumps through hoops herself for herself. It's interesting that this is very well planned here with all the people that are here. I just came because I just heard about it and I wanted to know what was going on since I'll be back on the street. I appreciate every single one of you. I've reached out at different times to every one of you. And you've always been there for me and my veterans and the people that I represent. And I appreciate the City Council. Thank you.
No one else in the queue, Mayor.
We'll close the public comment. Ms. Garcia Voss, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, Mayor Romero, there are no changes.
Thank you. May I have a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
I thought we could come up and talk afterwards. Don't you ask? Like the people that need to talk more.
Nope. I told you at the beginning that this is not a public hearing, that your public comment, and there will be a second public comment at the end.
Can I go put my name in?
For the end.
At the end,
Of this whole thing?
correct.
Okay.
May I have a motion? Please vote.
All members present voted in favor of the motion made by Councilwoman Larson, and it carries.
Mayor and Council, your first item of business is item number 1, a censure resolution. The recommendation is to adopt as resolution number 4666. And at this time, I'll turn it over to our city attorney, Nick Vaskov.
Mayor and council, before you at your request is a resolution censuring Councilmember Cox. The basis for the resolution is a recent indictment and alleged criminal conduct described in the police report attached to the resolution, as well as other alleged conduct inconsistent with the governance policy, the city charter, the Henderson Municipal Code, and the Nevada Ethics in Government Act. A censure resolution is a formal statement of disapproval issued by a legislative body. Censure is commonly used to rebuke or admonish a member of a public body for conduct that the body as a whole determines reflects poorly or brings disrepute to the body, is contrary or unbecoming the standards of conduct expected of a member of the body, is alleged to be unlawful, contravenes policy or procedure of the body or the organization it governs, interferes with the body's ability to conduct business, is unethical, or undermines public trust and confidence in the body or the organization it governs. Censure is also a way of expressing the majority view of a legislative body, and as such, it's an exercise of the First Amendment and free speech rights of the body. Because censure is simply a formal statement of disapproval, the underlying conduct need not be proven. The governing body may, in its discretion, issue a censure based merely on allegations when it determines that such allegations warrant a formal statement of disapproval. As a result, a censure need not be supported by facts that have been formally adjudicated as true, and there is no need to take testimony, weigh evidence, or have a formal evidentiary hearing for this or any other censure resolution. That said, Councilwoman Cox has a right to attend this meeting and provide testimony and evidence if she so chooses. Now, for the record, I did receive the letter that was read into the record by some of the members here from Mr. Tomczyk, her criminal defense attorney. And in lieu of attending this meeting, he provided the letter to be added to the backup, and it has been added to the backup. I also want to emphasize that, of course, Councilwoman Cox enjoys the presumption of innocence on the allegations set forth in the police report and the criminal charge filed against her, and the censure resolution has no effect on that. For the record, on November 13th, Councilwoman Cox was provided notice of this meeting, that this meeting would take place in accordance with the Nevada Open Meeting Law, and an affidavit of service of that notice is included in your backup material as well. It's worth noting that censure does not result in the expulsion or removal of a member from the body, and approval of this resolution will not prohibit Councilmember Cox from performing her fundamental duties of her office. A couple questions were raised about the authority of this body to enact a censure resolution. Let me make clear that you have that authority. As recently as 2002, the Supreme Court of the United States, reviewing a case in which a community college board censured one of its members for conduct that the board determined brought disrepute to the board, upheld and said that local governments, public bodies at all levels have an inherent authority to issue censures of their own members. It's part of keeping the body in line. It's part of ensuring that the body can express its First Amendment rights in terms of the view of the conduct of its own members. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'll turn it over to the mayor.
Thank you. It was just over a week ago that I gave the state of the city, outlining the incredible work that was accomplished over the last year. My focus has been and will continue to be on working with the residents, business owners, city employees, and other stakeholders to ensure our city is a premier place to call home. All of the chaos surrounding the unethical behaviors to be discussed at this meeting has not and will not deter that course. The reason we are here today is that extremely concerning information was provided to the city resulting from evidence collected during a 10-month investigation of Councilwoman Cox by LVMPD's Criminal Intelligence Section Public Integrity Squad. It is important to note that all evidence obtained by Metro through search warrants was found on Councilwoman Cox's own text messages, emails, and iCloud accounts. The information shows a repeated pattern of unethical behavior across wide-ranging topics. Equally concerning were Ms. Cox's responses to the accusations when they became public. Ms. Cox was indicted in October for illegally recording a conversation of which she had no part. When confronted by the media about the indictment, Ms. Cox said that she was blindsided by the accusation. In fact, in the officer's report included as backup to the agenda tonight, the detective describes an interview that took place 4 months earlier on June 3rd, 2025, with the councilwoman. During that interaction, she denied recording Councilwoman Larson and others. When presented with the evidence from her own iCloud account, from her phone showing the recording, Ms. Cox still denied she did it, claiming she was hacked. Later footage from CCTV cameras at City Hall presented to the grand jury shows video from 2 angles of Ms. Cox surreptitiously recording as described by the victims. Further, during the conversation in June, the councilwoman admitted she was aware of the report filed by Councilwoman Larson and in fact admitted that she had read it. This means that Ms. Cox, as the suspect of an investigation, either requested or accepted a report filed by her victim, which the detective describes as a gross abuse of duty. According to the report, 3 days after Ms. Larson filed the report, Ms. Cox exchanged text messages and phone calls with a former high-ranking police employee with whom she did not have previous communications, the timing of which is highly suspicious and gives some insight as to the character of former command-level employees at HPD as well. The indictment found the councilwoman did surreptitiously record the conversation and ordered her to have no contact with Councilwoman Larson. Despite the court order, at the veterans event held on November 8th, 2025, Councilwoman Cox walked up to Dr. Larson to insert herself in a picture. When asked to move, Cox refused and would not move until she was firmly instructed to locate to the other side of the group of people being photographed. This was also captured on CCTV. This shows just one example of the complete disregard by Councilwoman Cox of the court order and the law. Campaign contribution documents show that Ms. Cox has been operating a daycare at least since 2017, or for the past 8 years, without proper licensing of any kind. Ms. Cox has stated in the past that she is only watching family members and fewer than 6 children, which would not require a license. Copious text messages show this is simply not the case. Detectives performed multiple surveillance operations at Cox's house in which children were observed being dropped off and picked up. License plates were documented, proving there was no familial relationship with the children being cared for. Cox's own text messages show she was actively recruiting new clients, and financial records obtained by Metro show approximately $200,000 per year in profits related to the daycare business. Clearly, numerous children would need to be participating in the daycare operation to generate that level of income. Further, Metro detectives stated in the report that after their fiscal review of her financial documents, that she may be committing the federal crime of tax evasion on that income. In relation to said business, in December 2024, Councilwoman Cox voted on changes to the city's development code that affect home daycare without disclosing the fact that she had a conflict by virtue of the pecuniary interest in her existing business. Ms. Cox stood to potentially gain personal benefit from the changes, but did not say a word before, during, or after the meeting about the obvious conflict. This is a very serious ethics violation of NRS 281A that undermines public trust. The resolution directs city management and the city attorney to direct these potential criminal and ethical violations to the proper federal, state, and local investigative authorities for further review. Text messages from Ms. Cox's phone show numerous interactions with another former member of HPD who had actively campaigned for her election and garnered HPD support for her, according to the police report. In a series of text messages in January 2022, the former employee asks Ms. Cox's assistance with an HPD internal affairs investigation. Information from the investigation was shared with Carrie, who is legally obligated as a member of council to stay out of city personnel operations. After the case was dismissed, both the former employee and the target of the investigation texted Ms. Cox, thanking her for her help. Investigators found the circumstantial evidence indicated Cox exercised a gross misuse of power by intervening yet again in the disciplinary action of another solely for personal benefit or the benefit of another, close quote. In another one of these series of messages, the former employee asks for the councilwoman's help in blocking another HPD employee who had been selected for the FBI Academy from being able to attend. Ms. Cox said she will call to him to discuss. On February 15th, 2023, this person again texted Carrie stating the person was still slated to attend the academy, to which she replies, "I'm on it first thing in the morning." On the 17th, Cox texts back, "I took care of the FBI situation, academy situation." Investigators learned that although the victim of this exchange had been selected to attend, registration had been paid, and family members had been prepared for an extended absence, he was told he could no longer attend. It is also important to highlight the fact that Cox colluded with one employee who was friendly to her campaign to prevent the career advancement of another, according again to the police report. It is also important to note the dates of these interactions. January and February of 2023. Ms. Cox had literally just been sworn into office, and she was already interfering in city operations in direct conflict with the city charter. In January 2025, Ms. Cox was texting with two members of the media regarding the untimely death of a minor child who had taken her own life. One reporter with whom she was communicating is described by the detective as a regular contact of Cox. In her communications with the reporter, she insinuates that the girl's parents did not tell law enforcement she had left the residence with a gun. Cox tells the reporter she will check what she calls the swing shift report to confirm. To be clear, the report to which she was referring was neither within her authority to access, nor was it public information. Cox has similar communications with a second member of the media who is also described in the report as a close friend, in which she also disseminates non-public information. Not surprisingly, after these communications, Kyle Payne of KLAS TV publishes Nevada gun storage statutes may answer questions on how teen obtained gun before untimely death, close quote. And the RJ publishes an article targeted at HPD entitled, "What Are They Hiding?" using the information Cox illicitly provided. In May 2025, Cox is once again, according to the report, texting with Jeff Crampton, a real estate associate described in the report as a primary contact of Cox and who has close ties to both Ms. Cox and the previous HPD command staff. Negative information about the new police chief. 3 days later, Ms. Cox has 3 phone calls with a reporter totaling 30 minutes in duration and text messages arranging a time to meet. That same night, Mr. Payne once again publishes a negative report on the new chief using the exact information contained in the text messages between Cox and her associate. The officer's report states that, quote, Based on Cox's habitual media dissemination and deliberate undermining of city progression, investigators find it probable the information was fed to the reporter in hopes of tarnishing the new chief's reputation and to sow discord and distrust within the HPD community. Investigators believe this was done not only due to her unfailing friendship with the associates who are close friends with a former high-ranking HPD member who was terminated earlier in the year, but her deep-rooted motivations to create a wedge between HPD, Henderson community, and the city of Henderson, close quote. The detective notes in the report that, quote, Cox often disseminates information to the media for her benefit or for that of individuals in which she shares a private commitment without regard to HPD or the citizens it impacts, and quote, end quote, and further states, quote, an analysis of redacted news organization and redacted news organization coverage of Cox revealed they have not published unfavorable articles about her. On the contrary, numerous articles were located that instead gave her a platform to push her political agendas. These articles most often included personal statements given by Cox, close quote. A quick Google search confirms this finding as report after report by Mr. Payne targets Councilwoman Larson, city management, the police department. In fact, since February, Mr. Payne has reported 9 times negatively about the city. However, he did promote the fact that Carrie was running for re-election. Not one article, however, was negative toward Ms. Cox, despite the fact that she was the target of a cease and desist letter, numerous disputes with other council members, and had been indicted. In fact, he has notified Councilwoman Larson of his intent to air yet another unfavorable report on her tonight. That really doesn't seem like coincidence. These examples violate Section 4 of the governance policy for the City of Henderson, Nevada Revised Statutes Section 281A, and the Henderson Municipal Code 2.0.030 relating to standards of ethics for elected officials, putting not only the city, but taxpayer dollars at risk for potential litigation. Detectives also found that Ms. Cox had, in their opinion, quote, egregiously abused her power to meddle in or attempt to influence the disciplinary proceedings of the Nevada Board of Nursing by using her position to write a character reference letter on city letterhead for an advanced practice registered nurse facing very serious allegations, including providing a patient with medication that caused adverse effects without obtaining appropriate consent or order, failure to document and delegating tasks to personnel for which they did not have appropriate licensure. Once again, Ms. Cox used her position of power to try to influence a disciplinary hearing, this time potentially endangering the health of the community, as the nurse in question lost her license because the allegations were substantiated, and putting the city and its residents at liability risk again. In another instance, Ms. Cox was asked to donate money for the food giveaway, as it was mentioned earlier. She was told that according to the report, that she would likely not receive recognition for the donation, so that she may not want to do it. Rather than donate herself, Ms. Cox texts that she will email someone for a check. In the emails uncovered by detectives, Ms. Cox reaches out to a business owner asking for $2,000 to help families. She states in the email that she and another donor were taking care of the turkeys and any additional sides. Based on the information found through their research, the investigators found the information given to the business owner to be fabricated. Cox never made a donation to the organization. As was widely reported and mentioned earlier, in February of this year, I was forced to hire an attorney to protect my family from the false and malicious rumors being spread about me throughout the community by Ms. Cox. I was made aware, both verbally and in writing, of the rumors from numerous unrelated individuals. many of whom I did not know or barely knew, and some of whom I knew well. All of the reported information was similar in nature. When confronted with the information, Ms. Cox, of course, denied spreading the rumor and then claimed that her attorney had requested proof of the letters from my attorney. A quick check with my attorney, and no such request was ever made by either Ms. Cox or her attorney. Additionally, she alleged that another council member hit and/or intimidated her at a city council meeting held in March of 2024. Ms. Cox claims it happened behind the wall to the rear of the dais right before the meeting started. Yet she did not file a report about it when asked if she wanted to. No witnesses saw anything occur, and she can be seen on the video recordings of the meeting, proceeding with no obvious signs of distress. Finally, and probably the most disturbing thing that I received from the report, is that through texts and emails found on Ms. Cox's phone on or about May 2024, were located between Carrie and an associate, which disclosed the intent, according to the police report, to publish an image of yet a different council member taken at a public event. Cox asked to have the image altered and asked the associate to create verbiage to be used in flyers to send out to various members of the community to, quote, maliciously damage this person's reputation, relationships, and marriage. She receives an email from the person with the requested information. This sounds a little repetitive. The detectives state, through interviews, evidence obtained, and communications recovered during this investigation, investigators have learned Cox's actions are politically motivated with the intent to destroy the reputations of her colleagues, to gain popularity within the community, garnering more votes for her reelection in 2026, close quote. Her fellow council members didn't say this. Independent, well-trained detectives did after finding example after example on her personal device. This information was gathered by seasoned, highly regarded law enforcement officials over a 10-month period. Finally, over the weekend, an expose was released involving Ms. Cox and her role as chairwoman of the Board of Lutheran Social Services. An expansive report was made on the mismanagement of funds by the CEO, his wife, and her business partner. The problems were so extensive that almost all board members resigned because of the large amounts of money being given to the three without proper disclosure and approval, all while living a lavish lifestyle and being sued for unpaid debts. In her social media, Councilwoman Cox has numerous pictures posted with the Bedwells, who are the CEO and the wife in question. She praises Michelle Bedwell as her unsung hero in her life, that's a quote, and expresses her gratitude for her support. The article is quoted as saying, she credited the Bedwells and Kent with helping her get elected to the Henderson City Council, close quote. Yet another scandal with Councilwoman Cox at the center that detracts from city business and further erodes public trust. This was most definitely not a witch hunt, as Ms. Cox has described. This is a pattern of diabolical, unethical, and immoral behavior from the first day she's entered office until now. This is just what the detectives found. City staff, management, and council have been under attack for the last 3 years, trying to counter the lies and misinformation being fed by Ms. Cox, as evidenced by the examples uncovered in this investigation. Ms. Cox would like you to believe that she's been hacked, that everyone else is the liar, that the other council members are plotting against her, the city's in chaos and cannot be trusted, and that she is the victim. The evidence supports exactly the opposite. There are many victims in this story: her fellow council members, members of staff, and maybe most importantly, the residents of Henderson she was elected by and sworn to serve, and whom her actions have potentially put at risk both financially and for liability. You are all victims of the councilwoman. Ms. Cox deserves this censure and the fallout from the subsequent investigations by the Ethics Commission, federal, state, and local authorities. Henderson deserves better than this, and it is my personal belief that she should resign from office.
I have a few comments to make as well. In my former profession, I was entrusted with enormous responsibilities. And on a daily basis, I would rely on my team assembled around me to accomplish the mission that's at hand. And over the years, people would commonly ask me, if you were in a position to select your team, how do you determine who's best suited for it? How do you determine who's the best fit? And my answer was always simple. When choosing the right person, the differentiator for me has always been a person of solid character, meaning somebody that you know will do the right thing when nobody is looking, someone that has a good heart, strong work ethic, filled with integrity. You can teach good skills, but you can't teach good character. Character builds trust. It increases integrity and sets a standard for people to rise and meet. And I think that is what our community expects out of all of us up here. They expect principled people working hard, serving the community for the community's best interests, and not their own personal gain, to promote the city and to showcase our very best. The City of Henderson's values remind us that, quote, we are driven with integrity through collaboration to achieve excellence. And in the end, history will not judge us. And in the end, history will not judge us, not by the titles we held, but by the trust we honored and the values we upheld. This is our duty, and we must carry it out with honor and respect because this is what people who elected us expect. It's unfortunate that we're meeting here tonight to censure an individual. And I know the processes will play out in the courts and other governing bodies in the coming days, weeks, and months, and her reported actions will speak for themselves, and she'll have to answer for them. But I want this team to continue the good work that we have been doing and focus on moving forward as we strive to live out these principles every day. It's imperative that we do not circumvent the will of the people with actions that showcase personal gain, but instead focus on representing the people by listening to them and carrying out their interests. If we do that, we will honor the confidence our residents have placed in us, and we'll have truly done right by the people of this great city and earn the privilege to sit in these seats. So for me, it remains a great honor to serve this community. Our best days are still ahead, and together we will continue building a Henderson that reflects the very values we stand for. Thank you.
When I moved to Henderson, when my family and I moved to Henderson 3 years ago, I came here with the belief that the city was safe and a place of community. I intended to retire and enjoy my new surroundings. However, the community was having an influx of crime in the Inspirada neighborhoods, which prompted me to start our Neighborhood Watch program in conjunction with the Henderson Police Department. Additionally, children and families were impacted by speeders, and I attempted to get a speed bump installed within the community. As a result of my community engagement, I continued to attend the city council meetings and advocate for the speed bumps, which were eventually approved by the council. After this experience, I felt a calling to serve the community, and I decided to run for city council. Despite what others say, they did not get me elected. God got me elected, so let's make that clear. When I registered to run for council, Carrie Cox contacted me several days after registering, stating, "I'm so glad that you decided to run for council. There's so much information I have to tell you about the city and the council members to help you understand what's going on." She scheduled a meeting and proceeded to make noted allegations, and that meeting included Jeff Crampton and his wife. She scheduled a meeting and proceeded to make the noted allegations against the mayor and other council members. At this initial meeting, Carrie accused the mayor and council members of being corrupt. She then stated that my ward demographics are 60% Caucasian, and that they would never vote for an African-American female with short African-American hair, and that I would have to wear a wig, but later denied it. During my campaign, I had several dinners and meals with Carrie Cox, her husband, several Henderson police officers, retired and currently on staff, with their spouses. That also included Jeff Crampton and his wife, Barb. She continued to spread mistruths about the mayor and councilman. She also expressed her great pleasure in helping the police get rid of the former chief. After the primary, Carrie Cox and Jeff Crampton referred me to a campaign manager or consultant who's here today, Lisa Mayo. Our relationship soured after my election because I dared speak out and state exactly what Carrie said about the mayor having an affair. I have the audio, Lisa, where Lisa stated, "Don't play this. You need to take that off your page right now, or we're going to do what we have to try and get you recalled." The night of the election, Carrie spoke at great length on how she plays the victim and says whatever she has to say to whatever audience she needs to say to get what she wants. I found her character to be untrustworthy. She repeatedly made false statements and gave no regard to anyone that she was hurting for her own self-interest. She further reiterated how she manipulates others by playing the victim so that people would feel sorry for her. On November 7, 2024, after the election, I met with various business owners who wanted to contribute towards my campaign debt. One of the first business owners whom I met with to assist with retiring my debt stated, "Congratulations on your win. It's nice to meet you. By the way, did you receive that check I gave to Carrie Cox for you during your campaign when you were running?" I was flabbergasted. She never mentioned anything. I told that person that, and I confronted her about it on the telephone and again in person. She continued to lie and said, "Well, I told him to write the check to my campaign and not yours. That way, and that I would get it to you, because after all, they'll be looking at your C&E reports, not mine." I told her, "You can't do that. It's illegal." She then said, "Well, at least we're riding in the same car during the parade to give the appearance that we get along and are united." Again, nothing but games, lies, and manipulation with her. On December 17th, 2024, I attended the city council meeting. I was not speaking with Carrie at that time. She continued to call me that day. I ignored her calls. She had someone else contact me, that would be Jeff Crampton's wife, Barb, stating, "Carrie needs to speak with you urgently because the city is going to appoint Stephanie Garcia Voss into the city manager's position." When I arrived at the city council chambers, Carrie arrived a short time later and stated, "I've been trying to reach you. They're going to appoint Stephanie Garcia Voss for the city manager's position, and I don't want that. You have to speak out because it affects you." I told her I didn't return your calls and I had no intention of it. Our relationship is what it is because of your pathological lying and your behaviors. I further stated, if you want to speak out against the appointment, you do it yourself. I'm not your puppet and I'm not your mouthpiece. I don't have any issues with her, you do. She then looked around the room as it was full to see all the prominent business leaders who were here to support Stephanie's appointment. She quickly assessed that it would be detrimental for her potential donations and stated, "Well, I'm going to get up and walk out during her appointment agenda item." And I told her I wouldn't recommend that if I were you, and I walked away from her. I had to leave about an hour into the meeting to return a rented vehicle before the agenda item was voted on. But I later found out through Jeff Crampton that Carrie walked out during the appointment vote, pretending to have a coughing spell. After being sworn in, I decided to find out the truth about all the lies Carrie had told me during the campaign and spread throughout the city. I myself had repeated those same lies because I believed her. I didn't know any better, which is why I feel the way that I do. Everything Carrie has stated was a blatant and intentional lie to defame the mayor and to create distrust within the city. I have many more examples of her egregious behavior, but this isn't the time to go into them for more detail. When the Las Vegas Metro Police Department conducted an investigation on an initial felony charge, a police report I filed against her, they found multiple examples of misconduct, corruption, conducted over a 10-month period, which is in tonight's backup, highlighting glimpses of her pattern of bad behavior. Residents, I understand you might like her. There's a difference between liking and a difference between a person having the ethical conduct that they should to uphold this office. There's a huge difference. She betrayed the public trust by alleging that she actually cared about them and would work for their concerns. The city, the staff, the citizens, and our businesses deserve better. This is a sad day for our city, but I believe after working with the mayor and my fellow council members over the past year, that the best is yet to come. I applaud their leadership tonight in making the tough decisions and restoring public trust as well as morale and integrity within the walls of City Hall. And I myself agree, she needs to resign.
Why are we here tonight, this afternoon? What is the purpose of this meeting at this time? Leading up to this meeting for the last several weeks, since the heretofore disclosed report that's in the backup material, I've asked myself that numerous times. What are we doing? Why are we here? This is something that has never happened in our premier city's history, 72 years of history. Something this, I call it degrading. Some of you've called it embarrassing. I agree with you. Why are we here? I don't know if many of you look at the strategic plan that council and staff come up with. There is 5 strategic areas that the city focuses on, or which guides everything that we do. First one is obviously community safety. The second one is healthy, livable, sustainable cities. The third one is quality education. The fourth one is economic vitality. And the fifth one is high-performing public service. In other words, public governance. All very important. We base pretty much all that we do to follow these high-achieving strategic priorities. Let me speak to one, and that is high-performing public service. If I might just read the 3 main points. Ensure that is included in the high-performing public service. Ensure responsive government through the implementation of a digital innovation program. Again, more process. Ensure responsive government through the implementation of city performance excellent program. Again, always striving to be the best that we can, to be the premier community that we can. And then the third one is develop and implement strategies to attract and retain the high-performing workforce of today and in the future, which I think probably is the most important one. So obviously, this strategic priority, this specific one is set out for us as a city council, executive staff, directors, every employee in the city to reach higher and to do better. What is this, the saddest part of this whole thing to me, that brings me the most angst as we go through this very embarrassing chapter of our city, is that what we're going through undermines everything that we're trying to do as a city. Why? Because of the credibility has been drawn into question. The integrity of the city, top to bottom, has been, as mentioned by some of you, called to question. And what that does to staff, we got to realize we don't run the city. As many as maybe one of our colleagues thinks, but we do not run the city. City manager, city attorney, city clerk, the directors, they run the city. Our job is to put into place policy that they follow and they implement. And so by what we're going through right now has a huge detriment to the organization as a whole. To being able to achieve those lofty goals that we have put in front of us, to be able to serve our residences, our businesses, in a manner that we all want. You, us, management, that we all want. And what this has done is called that all into question and has put a huge black mark on the city of Henderson. I can't go anywhere somebody doesn't ask me, what is going on in the city of Henderson? Never heard that before because we've always been considered a premier community. And this has tarnished us in a way that, yes, terrible, but we will come back from. So I come back to my original question. What are we doing here tonight? What is the situation that has brought us here? It is, yes, the indictment of a fellow council person, but that isn't really what brought us here. What brought us here is the accompanying investigation performed by a third party, very reputable public official department, division of Metro. And with that, we as a governing body have no other choice than to address that. We simply cannot say, well, that's something that has been brought to our attention, thrown in our lap. We didn't ask for it. We didn't help the investigation in any way. We just got the report. And so now what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to do what's best for the city, for its residents, the businesses, and yes, the staff at all levels, because they're the ones that make this thing happen. And so in my mind, why we're here tonight is to do what we as a governing body can do. And that is, the most we can do is pass a resolution that censors the party in question. That's what we're here for. And with that said, I make a motion to approve the resolution.
Please vote.
All members present voted in favor of the motion made by Councilman Stewart, and it carries.
Thank you. Now is the time for any council member comments. Are there any additional comments to be made? Close the council member comment. And finally is the final public comment. Now is the time for the final public comment. If you wish to make a public comment, please come to the podium, speak directly into the mic, and state your name and zip code. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
Mayor, the second public comment queue for items not on the agenda is empty.
Is what? Oh, it's empty. Oh, did you?
My name is, we're back, I'm back here again. My name is Chris Schaefer, 89044. I would like to know why Jim Seebach was not under his ethic violation, why he has not gone through something like this, and why Jim Shaw has not gone through his predatory lending. Why wasn't this brought up for him? Why didn't he go through something like this? I don't understand. She was hired after 30 days to hire one of the best chiefs that we've ever had that has brought some peace in the department, and yet you got rid of it because she wasn't a yes person. Monica Larson, you wore a wig for years. You shared this with me. It wasn't Jeff Crampton or Barb or anybody making a statement. You posed as a young person with a wig, lingerie, doing it, everything. I don't understand why all this, you people up here are allowed to do this. Your husband and son work for a company that you get over 25 contracts for. What is that? Why are you allowed to do that? And there's other bids. There's other bids out there for the job, but yet your husband's company gets them all. Why isn't that under investigation? What is going on here? Why are you people allowed to do everything, but yet because she gets bullied, Carrie gets bullied by Monica Larson, and yet, oh my God, let's stop this. You, sir, were never under this. Dan Shaw came back after being, after she took his seat. Now he's up in the office doing what? What kind of money shuffling is he doing for you guys? Because he knows the deals? What is going on here? She doesn't even know Holly, but yet she can fire her, has the money to I don't understand why this is okay for you people up here to sit here and do everything, and yet Carrie, everybody back here is saying, why are you doing this? Yes. You're about to be tried to get reelected, and you're gonna get, Holly is gonna come and make and change all of this. This is ridiculous. You have made a mess out of the city of Henderson. You get all these kickbacks, but yet you can sit up here and say everything you want to say. It's wrong. You got rid of Charlie Chadwick because she was not a yes person. Now you're trying to get rid of Carrie Cox because she's not a yes person. You want to get all your puppets in line and do this. And now you want to try and get reelected? What is going on here? I'm ashamed to live in city of Henderson. The police officers are back up in havoc again. It's everybody's anxiety again, and you don't care. She's a bully over here. She's not the same woman that I've known, and she cuts Carrie on pictures and on Facebook.
Thank you.
Wrong, very wrong.
I will close the public comment and adjourn the meeting.